Kitty Wells becomes the first woman to chart #1 on the country charts with It Wasn't God Who Made Honky Tonk Angels. The United States Special Forces is created, and the ocean liner SS United States makes her maiden voyage across the Atlantic, still holds the record for fastest crossing, which it did it in 3 days, 10 hours, 40 minutes, at an average speed of 34.51 knots, and still to this day holds the blue ribbon. They saved the United States from scrap years ago, but they are getting ready to sink it, which I'm pretty pissed off about. The year is 1952, and this convertible Rambler could be had at your local Nash dealer. But before getting into all of it, I'm Jay. Welcome to What It's Like, the automotive channel that brings to light the lost and forgotten cars from a world that simply doesn't exist anymore. History, specs, design. We post between 4 and 5 episodes each week. If you're into binging content and you're into automotive history, this could be the next channel for you to binge. If any of it sounds of interest to you, subscribe and hit the bell icon next to it to never miss a video. 1952 Nash model lineup was broken down into 4 series, starting in the proverbial basement with the Rambler, followed by the Statesman, Ambassador at the top. And many people forget Nash was among one of the first American car companies, after Crosley with the Hot Shot, to offer a sports car, the Nash Healey, which was completely redesigned for 1952. Nash would offer the Rambler from 1950 through 1955 as an entry-level compact car. Rambler was reintroduced as an all-new Rambler for 1956 because in 1954, Nash and Hudson would merge to form one of the most underrated, overlooked car companies to ever spawn God's green earth, AMC. The last year for Hudson was 1954 with their step-down design. Nash went until 1955, and then the two would share the same body styles. They were both unit body from 55 through 57. It's also worth pointing out that 1957 was the last year for both Nash and Hudson, AMC going all in on Rambler for 1958. But getting back to the 1952 Nash Rambler, George Mason, who was president of Nash Calvinator, wanted to offer a cheap basement-level car. Mason knew that just a cheap car alone doesn't equate into high-volume sales. Mason wanted a low-cost car built with quality that can transport a small family. And that car was the Rambler. The Rambler was made to compete with Chevrolet, Ford, and Plymouth. Rambler was designed to be a lighter, be a smaller overall car. Also, it gave better fuel economy than the competition. The 1952 Nash Rambler could be had in such body styles included, but not limited to, 2-door sedan, 2-door wagon, 2-door delivery wagon without windows, 2-door hardtop, which they called the Country Club, and the 2-door convertible. It was also available in 2 trim levels, Super and Custom. Super was just basically getting the car with a seat and a working, functioning car. The Custom trim gave you weather eye conditioned air system, which was their fancy speak for heat and ventilation. But it's worth mentioning that it wasn't until 1954 they would add air conditioning to the mix. Nash was one of the first automotive companies to use automatic temperature control for the air side of the heating system, with thermostatic sensing temperatures of incoming outside air to the heater's discharge. Other custom trim features included but not limited to radio, custom steering wheel, foam inside the cushions, turn signal indicators, as well as electric clock. Other options included but not limited to airliner reclining seats, white wall tires, hood ornament, windshield washer. 1952 was a big year for Nash, celebrating their golden 50th anniversary. Nash started building cars in 1902, and after 50 years, Nash was available in 66 different countries, with more than 2.2 million cars being made during those 50 years. Let's talk specs. 176 inches long, 53.5 inches wide, 58.5 inches tall. It rides a wheelbase of 100 inches. It weighs around 2,600 pounds. Price, $2,119, which would be equivalent to you spending $25,212.18 in the year 2024. Total 1952 Nash production was 154,291 units. Of that number, total Rambler 53,000 units, and of that number, total two-door Rambler Convertible 3,108 units. Moving on to engine. Only one engine on offer for this car, the 172.6 Flying Scott Flathead 6, 2.8 liters. It was good for 82 horsepower, 3,800 RPM, 138 pound-feet, or 187 newton meters, around 1,500 RPM, with a bore of 3.4 inches and a stroke of 3.8 inches. Compression is 725-1 with 4 main bearings. When backed with a 3-speed manual transmission, 0 to 60 could be had in around 17.8 seconds, with a theoretical top speed of 84 miles per hour, while achieving an average of 17.5 to 23 miles to the gallon. And I've read that you could get close to 30 miles to the gallon on the highway with overdrive in this car. Breaking from script here for a second, I really dig these cars. Has anybody had one of these in the comment section? What was your experience with this car? I really like the 53 Country Club personally, but that's just me. Let's talk styling. I really dig these. These have always given off that Lionel Train vibe or Tin Toy vibes to me. What do you guys think? The design is very clean. Headlight bezels have that cascade effect with small running lights just below it. Bumpers are small and simplistic with 2 bumperettes and or overriders. Notice that there are 2 very small vents in between the 2 bumper overriders and or bumperettes. Also notice this car only has 2 bright grille bars. Nash badge in center with bright work underneath it, almost like they're underlining Nash. Also notice the trim piece that goes underneath the Nash badge is angled on both sides. It doesn't go the full length like the other 2 bars do. Just above the Nash badge, the hood is pinched. It has like a center line going up towards the 50th anniversary mascot in a bit of a provocative pose. The center line continues down the hood going towards the cowl vent, single piece windshield with windshield wipers that oppose. Radio antenna, and these weird quirky side vents. Going back to the front real quick, there's a trim piece that is present just above the petite bumper, which wraps clear around. It actually like circles the car. The trim on the top runs on top of the fender opening. The fenders on this car are very interesting to say the least. They don't really have wheel cutouts either in the front or in the back, and the fenders cover about 50% of the wheel. The rocker body molding protrudes out slightly. Side mirrors are mounted to the door. This car does have drip rails that run the perimeter of the cabin. And another interesting thing to point out is the front wheel is placed pretty much as far forward as it can possibly be, whereas the rear wheel isn't as far back that it can possibly be. It's just a very interesting wheel placement on this car. Gas filler cap is painted body color. Bumpers in the rear are in the same style, just with an added overrider bar in the center. Nash Airflight badging at the rear center line going to the trunk handle, and then it continues across the trunk deck lid. Getting inside, opening the door, you're met with cloth and vinyl materials. And for an economy car, everything feels solid. 50s economy cars have better quality than some 1980s luxury cars. I absolutely love the colors used on the door panel. Armrest, door handle to get out, window crank for the big window, vent window. Just take a gander at this interior. On to the button switches and knobs, starting on the left and moving right. Windshield wipers, uniscope, which all of the gauges are inside of. 90-mile-per-hour speedometer at the top, odometer, amp meter, oil pressure are both idiot lights, gasoline gauge, coolant temperature, high beam indicator at the bottom, clock, weather eye controls, key, and lighter. Taking a quick gander under the hood, Flying Scott, Flathead 6, that sits way, way down inside. Honey, you need. Notice that the inner fenders are painted body color. This engine doesn't have a traditional intake. Notice the carburetor is mounted straight to the block. There is a piece on the other side which connects to the intake ports. It's very interesting. It's a very simplistic, interesting design. Large trumpet horns off to the right-hand side, 6-volt battery tucked back there as well. On the positive side, these have always given me Lionel Train vibes and Tin Toy vibes. They're just really cool and different. You never, ever get to see these. Ever. And they are very cheap, very affordable. People always ask me, what is a good, affordable classic car to get into the classic car hobby? If you wanted to get an off-the-beaten-path car that doesn't cost a whole lot of money to buy, and you can still find parts for these are definitely an entry-level car that you could buy. All body styles look great, in my opinion. They're said to get really good gas mileage with overdrive. I'm talking like 30s with a Flathead 6. You could use this car every day against it. Parts and people that know these in and out. And when I mean parts, I mean like body parts mostly. It's really hard to find anybody that wants to work on bodies of cars around here without having to do an insurance job. It sucks, the world we live in. Also, just know that these things are unit body, so just be aware to look it over. They like to rust from the inside out. All right, now it's time for Would You Rather. 2 scenarios today. In the first scenario, would you rather have a 1952 Kaiser Henry J or 1952 Nash Rambler or 1952 Crosley Hotshot? I'm going to leave this here for a minute. If you need more time, feel free, pause the video. On to the second scenario, 1949 Playboy or 1952 Nash Rambler or 1949 Davis Divian. I'm going to leave this here for a minute. If you need more time, feel free, pause the video. Now it's time for Name That Tune. First person to get both the name of the band and the song title correctly in the comment section will have their comment pinned to the top of it. Thank you all so much for coming out and watching this. If you'd like to get in touch with me, shoot me a comment in the comment section below, or check out our Facebook group that correlates with this YouTube channel. It gives you the opportunity to share your rides, stories, experiences. Anything car relatable is shareable on there. If you don't have Facebook and would still like to reach me outside of YouTube, you can always send me an email at what_it's_like@yahoo.com. Thank you all so much for everything that you guys bring in the comment section. I totally dig reading the stories. I love reading the comments, and I definitely love reading all of the insights and information that you guys provide. Until next time, toodaloo! Congratulations! If you've made it this far, you have made it to the after party. This is a walk around of the car and its entirety without any commentary or sound. But if you want to listen to music, you can put on whatever you wish in the background. Enjoy.